Hello, today I'm going to be showing you how I do the Tunisian cable braid for the Blissful Harmony sweater. I'm going to start off with a slip knot, and you can see here that I'm using acrylic wonder yarn in the colorway Thatch, and you want to slip it straight onto your Tunisian crochet hook. As you can see here, I'm using a Fell's 9mm Tunisian crochet hook. For this pattern, you will also need a smaller hook. I will be using a 8mm or M alpha hook. I'm going to start by chaining 13. That last loop on the hook counts as the first stitch, so I'm going to start with the second loop, second chain, and pull up a loop in the back bump, and then pull up a loop in the back bump of each chain across. As I'm holding the yarn doubled, you just want to make sure that you're catching both strands of the yarn you're using. And when you reach the end, you're going to work a standard Tunisian return pass. Here I'm just checking that I have the correct amount of stitches on my hook. So you chain 1 and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and repeat this all the way back across until you only have 1 loop remaining on your hook. And that is a standard Tunisian return pass. Tug down on that loop just to make sure that it's gonna keep a good tension, and then we're gonna work a Tunisian pearl stitch straight away. And again, I'm tugging down just to make sure I have a good tension. Then we're going to work 9 Tunisian knit stitches. You insert your hook between the stitches and go out through the back, and then pull up a loop, and you repeat that until you have 9 Tunisian knit stitches. You work a Tunisian pearl stitch, I'm just going to check I have the correct number of stitches. Perfect. And you finish off the row with a Tunisian edge stitch, making sure to catch those 4 strands of the vertical bars because we're holding it double. Chain 1 and carry on with a standard Tunisian return pass. So as you can see a pattern forming, the first stitch you work is always a Tunisian purl stitch. And do 3 Tunisian knit stitches, skip 3 stitches, and then 3 Tunisian knit stitches. This is going to form the first part of the cable. Making sure to keep my smaller crochet hook in front of the Tunisian hook. I'm working the skipped stitches with a Tunisian knit stitch. And then I'm slipping those stitches back onto the Tunisian hook. Once I've got them on there, I'm just going to tighten up, making sure it's not going to have any big holes. Then I'm going to work a Tunisian purl stitch and finish the row with a Tunisian edge stitch. Can be a little bit tricky to work this return pass, but it is just a standard return pass, making sure you yarn over and pull through 2 loops all the way to the end until you only have 1 loop remaining. Again, as with all the rows, we're going to work a Tunisian purl stitch, and then we're going to repeat that first row where we just worked 9 Tunisian knit stitches, making sure that we don't miss any of the stitches that we just crossed in the row before. So count the stitches as you go along just to make sure you don't miss any. And work your Tunisian purl stitch. And a Tunisian edge stitch. And a standard return pass as with all the other rows. So we're going to repeat the last row, which was a Tunisian purl stitch, and then 9 Tunisian knit stitches, then a Tunisian purl stitch, and finish with a Tunisian edge stitch. And again, a standard return pass. So we start the next row with a Tunisian pearl stitch again. We're skipping the first 3 stitches this time and working Tunisian knit stitch in the next 3 stitches. So you should have 3 skipped stitches at the beginning, and this time we're going to go behind the Tunisian hook. Can be a little bit fiddly, but just take your time. And work the skipped stitches with a Tunisian knit stitch. So as you can see, they're all behind the Tunisian hook still, and then I'm just going to slip those stitches back onto the Tunisian hook. Making sure I capture all the strands. I'm just going to tighten it up a bit. And then in the last 3 Tunisian knit stitches, I'm going to work Tunisian knit stitches. Then a Tunisian pearl stitch as usual, and a Tunisian edge stitch with a standard return pass. Now again, this return pass is going to be tricky wherever you've got one of the cable crosses, but just work off each stitch as you normally would. So we've worked each of the different rows needed to create the cable stitch. In the pattern you would follow those rows for the correct amount of rows needed for your size. So now I'm going to show you how to bind off or cast off. I forgot a step here, so I'm going to take my Tunisian pearl stitch back off, because when I am casting off I like to chain 1 at the beginning and then work my stitches. But I'm going into the pearl stitch, and I'm also going into the return pass stitch, and I'm slip stitching as I go along. So I go into the stitch in pattern, so if it's a pearl stitch in a pearl stitch, or if it was a knit stitch, I go in as if to knit, but I'm also going into the return pass, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and then pulling through the last loop on the hook as well. I'm going to repeat that along, making sure not to miss any stitches. By going into the return pass as well, it just helps straighten out the edge of the fabric a little bit more, so it doesn't curl as much. I'm going to repeat that along. Here's another Tunisian knit stitch. I'm going to make sure I go into that back loop as well. And then work a Tunisian edge stitch and pull through the last loop. And then you would just fasten off. So that is how you would work the cable pattern, but you would obviously work the correct amount of rows for your desired size. I'm just going to show you one of the panels I've already created. As you can see, where you start, it has got a bit of a curl, but once you hit with a little bit of steam and a single crochet round at the end, that will straighten out. And we're going to work into these edge stitches with the single crochets for the rest of the pattern, and the pattern gives you the correct amount of rows that you would need to work with your smaller hook. So as you can see, I have 2 panels for the front, and then shorter panels for the sleeves. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. I will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you for watching.